Hey everyone, welcome to Chicken Johnny's, where today we're going to make this amazing device. What is it? It's my pillow. No, it's a Dibble board. This is a Dibble board designed for a 50-cell seed tray, and it has two functions. I'm going to show you both of those functions as I show you how I made my Dibble board.
Today's video is one that will help you if you're planting multiple plants in uniform planting cells. I use a 50-cell tray and I plant up about 75 of them a year. This year I expect to increase the number that I'm going to be planting, and so I wanted to make a Dibble board. I start by taking a piece of plywood and cutting it to the dimensions. In my case, I'm cutting it to the exact dimensions of the top of a 50-cell planting tray. 21 inches long by 10 1/4 inches wide. I'm using a piece of 3/4 inch ABX plywood, and I'll be drilling 50 holes through the plywood. A Dibble board allows me to place exactly spaced holes in the top of my planted cell, allowing me to put the seeds directly into the center of each of those cells. This is important because eventually I want to build a vacuum seeder. The vacuum seeder will allow me to plant all 50 seeds simultaneously rather than dropping one seed at a time. Now you'll notice I'm checking to make sure that that 50-cell tray is going to fit exactly over the board. Carefully centering it is important to ensure that everything is properly located. Now, while I'm holding the tray down with my left hand, I'm using a drill to pilot the 50 holes through the bottom of the tray. Now, these seedling trays have got holes directly in the bottom. My original plan is to drill a pilot hole and then open that pilot hole up to a 1/4 inch. I'll be putting a 1/4 inch bolt through that hole to act as my dibble. Notice that the 50 holes are all equally spaced across the board. Now I'm going to mount the board in a vise, and using a 1/4 inch drill bit, I'm going to drill out the 50 holes to 1/4 inch in size. Once all of the holes have been drilled, I'll get the holes drilled that could not be reached because the vise was in the way. Now I'll begin to insert 1/4 inch diameter carriage bolts, and I'll affix a 1/4 inch nut on the top of that carriage bolt. These bolts are 2 inches long. If I were to do this again, I would reduce the size of the bolts to 1.5 inches or perhaps 1.25 inches. I would also use a 5/16 bolt instead of a 1/4 inch bolt. After all the bolts have been installed, I now use a spanner wrench to tighten the nuts onto the top of the bolts. With all the bolts in place, set the tray down on top to make sure that the bolts fit into each one of the holes. Bolts fit perfectly. It's a little bit hard to get the tray off because the bolts are threaded. Now we'll head down to the shop and see what we can do planting these trays up. So I'm using some of the peat and perlite mix. I've added a little vermiculite to it, and we're going to be filling this tray up. Once the tray is filled and leveled off, I'll press it down using another 50 cell tray. I just want to make sure that the peat moss perlite is pressed down enough that when I remove the cells after the plants have grown, these cell plugs will stay together. I'm just going to top off the tray. Press it down once more for good measure. But I'm not going to use the pencil to make the holes like I did last time. Instead, this time I'll make them all at the same time using the Dibble board. Just press down and pull the board back out. You've got a hole in the center of each cell. Now, just a pro tip here. The peat moss needs to be somewhat damp, but not wet when you do this. Now I'm going to plant the cell tray up with some bell pepper seeds. These are bell pepper seeds that were left from last year. I'm not certain that they're going to grow, and so I'd like to give them a try early in the season. In case they don't germinate, I'll be able to replant something else. Now I've edited a bit for time, but this is a tedious job putting one seed into each hole. So my next project will be a vacuum seeder that will help me speed the process of putting the seeds into the cell trays so that instead of taking several minutes, I can do it in several seconds. And I'm going to sift just a little bit of soil back over the top of these seeds, filling the holes. I'm not going to press this down. I want that peat moss to be soft and easy for the seed to penetrate. Put the cell tray into a 10-20 tray, put some water in the bottom of the tray, Place our cell tray into the 1020 tray. That water should wick right up into the peat moss. Now, one last thing. We'll install a humidity dome, and it's off to the grow tent.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that little do-it-yourself project, and let me know in the comments if you plan to make one for yourself, or maybe you've already got one. They sell them at Johnny's for about 50 bucks, and I might do things a little differently next time. But as for now, I'm going to use it to both plant my seeds and pop my seedlings out of the tray when we're working in the field. I'm sure you'll see it through some of the videos that we're going to be producing this summer. Unless you're not subscribed. If you're not subscribed, you're going to be left behind. Don't be left behind. Hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think of the Dibble board. Let me know what you think about last week's project, the soil sifter. But no negative comments. They're hard on Mama Goose. Well, in Mitzer Shem, I'll see you again. I'm Chicken Johnny. Eat your vegetables. Hit subscribe.